And welcome to Love in the Time of Hydra, the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. 10th anniversary podcast. On this day, 10 years ago, Tuesday, January 14th, a lot was happening in the world. The #1 movie in the U.S. was Lone Survivor, a Mark Wahlberg film that I have no memory of existing. The #1 song in the U.S. was Timber by Pitbull featuring Kesha. Carl Weathers celebrated his 66th birthday, and Bruce Springsteen released his 18th studio album, High Hopes. But the most important thing that happened on this day 10 years ago was Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s 12th episode ever, Seeds, aired on ABC at 8/7 Central. Hello, I am Jamie Jarek, and I'm here with my co-host, boyfriend, and level 1 Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. fan, Tony Paletto. Hi, Tony.
Oh, that new title makes me feel so powerful. Hello. Thank you, everyone, for listening and for joining. I did see Lone Survivor in theaters. Pretty good. Pretty damn good.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Good to know. I'll have to remember that. It's rare that I'm like, I don't know what that movie is. So,
yeah.
Pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's not your jam.
No, okay. That's fair. But you know who is my jam? Our guest today. I'm really excited to introduce our guest. We are joined by the co-host of the 24 Minutes of A24 podcast, the Movie Draft podcast, and senior film critic for Agents of Fandom. Say hello to Ethan Simmie, everybody.
What's up? How's it going, guys? I'm so excited to be here.
Welcome,
buddy. We are so excited to have you. I heard that you did on your draft podcast a Tarantino draft today.
That's correct, yeah.
And I know from our social media friending that you just, for the first time in your life, finished his filmography.
That's true, yeah, that's true. So the episode of the podcast won't drop until January 23rd, so be on the lookout for that when the episode does come out. But I just watched Jackie Brown like 2 nights ago. That was the final Tarantino movie I had to watch all 10 /9 Tarantino films. And it was a really fun adventure. I had like 3 that I hadn't watched up until this past week, and it was pretty awesome.
Cool.
I'm jealous of you for Tarantino's been my favorite director since I was 13. I don't know if you know this, but the only reason Tony and I are together is because we were at Tarantino's movie theater that he owns, and I kept looking at Tarantino, and Tony thought I was looking at him, and that's why he had the courage to talk to me. So Tarantino is very important in our household. So I'm like excited for your draft episode.
That's the power of Tarantino, man.
Not only is Tarantino our Cupid, but we have more or less decided that the Delphonics song that's heavily featured in Jackie Brown is our song. So
I love that. I love that. I think that's the best part of Jackie Brown, to be honest, is when they're just jamming in the car, listening to Delphonics. It's a big win.
It's such a good song. Tony was hesitant. He's like, but that's Jackie and Max's song. And I was like, that's okay. we can share a song with them.
Right. Next gen.
Yes. Ethan, we like to kind of kick off the show by talking about what we were doing 10 years ago today. Do you know what you were doing 10 years ago?
10 years ago today would have been 2013. I would have been 19 years old.
2014.
Sorry. Yeah, 2014. So I would have been 20 years old. I was in college. I didn't know what I wanted to do, so I was pursuing a degree in finance, which I don't use at all this day, and working 2 jobs to get through college. That's probably what I was doing. So I don't have a lot of follow up to that, except just trying to get by.
You're just being an adult. You're learning how to be an adult.
Yeah. It was tough times,
I respect it. Tony, what were you doing other than seeing Lone Survivor in the theaters?
Oh, I saw Lone Survivor in between shifts. I was working as a short order cook in Topeka, Kansas. But that was a rewarding job in and of itself.
No one can trust Tony. That's just the way it goes. I'm going to tell you right now, I have no idea what I was doing January 2014. But I do know that I was embarking on my adult life. I've talked about this a lot, but I graduated college the year before. So I was working at Grubhub doing my thing. I wish I had more exciting things to share. But sadly I don't. But you know what is exciting, everybody?
Wait.
I didn't.
So sorry.
What, Maria, please.
I just have to share because I moved to Los Angeles January 11th, 2014.
Oh, shit.
Wow.
I'm officially 10 years in Los Angeles.
Did you just realize that?
Exciting. No, I knew that I had been 10 years in Los Angeles, but I just realized that the days were like very. So I was not watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I was panicking about my new apartment.
Yeah,
Well, like 10 years, that makes you a Angelino for
An
sure.
official, yeah.
Yeah.
hell
Once
yeah.
you hit 10 years, that's it. Congratulations. I feel like that's a really good deal.
That is really cool.
To go.
Thank you. Continue.
Well, I work on Sundays, everybody. I've always, the last 5 years at my job, I work on Sundays. So Tony and I went to brunch today, and I want you to know that this is a drinking day. We are saying fuck dry January. We're drinking. So I want all of you listening, if you are over 21 and if you're not driving, I encourage you to pour a drink. I've got seltzer in my Shield mug, and drink along with us today. Who knows what could happen? I've had a lot of champagne already today. I think it's going to be a great time.
It's going to be fun.
Just so you know,
Yeah.
Maria, disembodied as she may be, is also drinking. So,
Yeah.
Yes, that's true.
Don't think that you can, if people who are in the chat, don't think that you can just, go dropping spoilers because Maria's getting tipsy. Tag your spoilers in the chat. Otherwise, Maria will beat you
I'm
up.
still here. Yeah. I might even be more ready to ban some people after a few drinks. So be extra careful.
Yeah, I'm only worried about myself. This is our first time ever doing a pod where we're having a little drink. So
Wow.
I do, Tony shouted out the rules, but I wanted to say hi to everybody who's joining us live and everyone who's been listening and engaging with us on social media. I want to give a special shout out to our listener, Susie, who sent us the nicest message. It was so sweet. And she told us that she found me because she was looking for positive reactions to the Marvels, and that led her here. And that makes me happy because we love positivity and we love women. So thank you so much. If you have friends who are women and like positivity, send them our way. Ethan, so I don't know much about your Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. history.
Mhm.
Tell me a little. Did you watch the whole thing? Did you watch it from the beginning? What's your dealio?
Yeah, so I have a pretty personal relationship with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. actually. So my best friend, who was actually has been my landlord for the last 6 years, ended up being my best friend. We have children around the same age. We live in like an ADU that's right behind their property. So anyway, we spend a lot of time with them, right? So he was watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. on Disney Plus, gearing up for the final season to like catch it in time for live television. He got me on the train, and basically we watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. together, season 1, episode 1, whether physically together sometimes or just like, hey, get to this episode by this date so we can talk about it kind of a thing. But the thing is, we watched all of these episodes in prep for the final season while he was going through chemotherapy. So that was like our connection point to each other of like, hey, this is how I get to see you this week, or this is how we get to spend time while you're in the hospital or whatever it may be. Very, very cool. Bring over dinner to the hospital, watch like 4 or 5 or 6 episodes of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And spend that time together. Luckily, during the final season, he was in remission, out of chemo and all of these things. So we got to watch it together like on a weekly basis, watch the finale together. Really, really fun stuff. He unfortunately just passed away last January. So this is my first time revisiting Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. since he passed away. I know I'm packing a lot into one story here, but so I have a very deep fondness for going through Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and like a great personal history and connection that really is like used as this like thing to have memories of my friend. And S.H.I.E.L.D. fucking rocks. So yeah, I love this TV show.
What was his name?
His name was Mark.
All
great
right,
guy.
let's pour one out. Mark,
Yeah.
cheers to
Mark.
Mark. For everybody
Mark.
who's sipping with us, to that gentleman.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, Ethan, good luck to every guest we ever have for the rest of this podcast. That was so beautiful. No, that was beautiful. And I Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. it brings people together in the best and the worst of times. It's a special show. And wow, thank you for sharing that. Wow, not a good time to be tipsy, I'll tell you that. I'm like, I can't cry on a podcast.
I don't know. We gotta
really
bring the energy
one
back.
We gotta go.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Whew. No, and Ethan, I'm trying to remember how we met, because we've been friends online for a while now, and I believe it had to have started through Marvel.
I would assume
in some way.
so. Yeah,
Mhm.
I used to have a Marvel podcast actually called 15 Minutes of Marvel. So much in the same vein of the current podcast that I have now, 24 Minutes of A24. The idea was like a bite-sized bi-weekly podcast about what's going on in the world of Marvel. I only did that for probably a year, but I'm thinking that might have been how we got connected. I know you've been on my A24 pod, and you know we've talked offline and stuff, but I'm pretty sure it was Marvel that brought us together.
Yeah, I love that. And we're also now pen pals because we swapped Mission Impossible merch
Oh,
that
yeah.
I have the poster right
got
there.
yes, I got a poster and you got a pin and we
Yeah.
wanted the other. So we
Yeah.
are pen pals. We know where
You-
each other lives.
You are also deemed as like the jewelry lady in my house because
Yes.
with that poster, you offloaded a lot of jewelry to my children, and they were very thankful for that, and they use it all the time for dress up.
That makes me so happy. Anyone, if you follow me on TikTok, go find the video of me opening a box of costume jewelry that my father's wife sent me. It's ridiculous. It was just crazy. But you know what else is crazy? Agents of Shield. We gotta transition and start talking about this episode. The episode is Seeds. It was written by Monica Owazu Breen. We've talked about her on the show before because she also wrote episode 8, The Well. But a little reminder, she was co-executive producer and a writer during the first 3 seasons. She's definitely big in TV. There was a point where she was supposed to be doing a Buffy reboot. So if I feel like I mentioned Buffy. So he was the one who wrote it. The episode was directed by Kenneth Fink. He was a producer on CSI for many years. He directed lots of TV, but this is his only S.H.I.E.L.D. episode. But his directing credits include Dawson's Creek, Fringe, Arrow, Gotham, and Blind Spot, starring Marvel's own Jamie Alexander. So he's got a great lineup. And then, of course, moving on to the cast, we've got our core 6. And this is a pretty good guest star episode, folks. We've got Dylan Minnette as Donnie Gill. Dylan has a pretty dope filmography. He's in a lot of stuff. Most recently, he was in Scream, the 2022 Scream. He was in The Dropout. We've got David Conrad back as Ian Quinn. Christine Adams is here as Agent Weaver. And Tony and I, we've been slowly watching all the Bonds, and we're in the Brosnan era. And we were watching World Is Not Enough. And I clocked her sitting in a casino. She was just chilling there. And I was like, Weaver. And that was her first ever movie credit, was just girl in casino. So
awesome.
That's rad. Got to start somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. And being like a hot lady in a Bond movie is a pretty good place to start.
Yep.
We also have Daniel Zavato as Seth Dormer. Rip. He was just in The Pope's Exorcist, which I know Tony and I haven't seen, but we've been dying to watch that. Ethan, have you seen The Pope's Exorcist?
No, I haven't seen it yet. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I'm not quite sure.
Exactly.
Yeah. So my partner watched it. My dad was training to be a priest. Long story. Did not end up being a priest.
Wow.
But my partner watched it and was like, this is so incredible. This is what we're getting your dad for Christmas. So we gave my dad the movie and then the book that the guy in the movie wrote.
Wow.
So he got the whole information packet.
That's great. It's like a press package for your dad.
That's cool, yeah. The last Russell Crowe movie that I watched was the Michael Mann's The Insider, and I feel like I need to keep that Russell Crowe performance like top of the mind. I cannot stoop to The Pope's Exorcist.
It's hard, isn't it?
That's my problem right now.
Yeah. Everybody saw Russell Crowe in Gladiator, and they were like, "He's amazing." And then a lot of people like us went and saw The Insider. We were like, "Oh, he's been amazing for a long time. What the fuck happened?"
Yeah, big time.
Yeah.
Wasn't he also nominated for The Insider?
Yeah,
I believe
2 years in a row. Yeah.
Yeah.
3 years in a row, actually.
We're also a Michael Mann household. So the problem with having Ethan on the podcast is we're gonna while we're drinking, is we're gonna go on tangents about movies. That's absolutely gonna happen.
Sorry.
But you know what? I'm not on a time limit. That's not true. We have a party to go to. But also, finally, we got Boyd Kessner as Agent Lemley. I think he might be pals with Clark Gregg because he was in Clark's movie Trust Me the year before this. That is just me guessing. But I feel like Clark was probably like, "Hey, buddy, come be in the show." I'm making it up maybe, but who knows? Let's find out.
Cool.
when we get Clark Gregg in the podcast one day. Cross our fingers. I hope so.
Next episode, I think, right?
That'd be yeah. I don't know if he can follow me
Do
up,
not lie.
but we'll see.
Yeah. He's got a lot of stories, but none of them are going to hit that hard.
Nope.
So in this episode, part of the team heads to S.H.I.E.L.D. Academy after a group of students are attacked by an icy threat. Meanwhile, Coulson and May look further into Sky's past while Coulson deals with his newfound discovery about his death. A lot is going on in this episode. Ethan, initial thoughts. Do you like this episode? What were your thoughts here?
Yeah, I do like this episode, and I think I don't want to come in as the guest and be like, well, there are better episodes, but I think this is actually quite a good bottleneck episode for like season 1 because it doesn't necessarily feel like we're getting a bottleneck episode because we're leaving the bus, we're going to different places, we're kind of taking this detour to S.H.I.E.L.D. Academy and kind of doing this like side quest. I've been playing a lot of Hogwarts Legacy right now, so quests are on the mind. So we're kind of doing this like side quest to do that. And I think the episode does a pretty smart and effective job of utilizing that setting and that space with the new people to tell us more about, like, especially Fitzsimmons, but Ward as well, and learning more of their personalities and things. So I think it's quite an effective episode. VFX are very heavy in this episode, so it feels like kind of bigger budget television making, especially when it comes to S.H.I.E.L.D. And yeah, I had a good time. I watched the episode previous to this, and then this episode, and I think they're very, very good episodes.
That was smart, I think. I think to watch this one, the one before is definitely like, you didn't have to watch all 10, but I think doing A Magical Place was a good idea. Tony, where are you standing on this one?
Well, as a last episode, I announced my Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. ranking, and so I stuck this one in my ranking of 12 episodes as we are now, and I have it as number 6. So it's in the middle. I really liked it. It is behind The Asset, but above I Spy. That's where it sits for me. I liked it. As soon as we were at S.H.I.E.L.D. Academy, I was like, cool. I'm excited to see this. They were at the hub, and I was like teasing the show for just the amount of foot traffic that the hub had. It looked like fucking LAX. It was just like 700 agents walking around. So I was like, okay, cool. Now it's time to like finally see where all these people come from. Because the show has gotten so consistent with having sort of little mini twists in each episode, I was like, I kind of knew who our antagonist was. I mean, he was a reluctant antagonist, but I was like, oh, it's got to be this guy, right? But nonetheless, I liked it a lot. I really liked seeing Fitzsimmons, like, their dream is being fawned over by students. Like, that is just them in their zone, and they were elated. They had rehearsed their jokes. Like, they were just having, it was their time, and they were both on the exact same page of like just soaking that in and having such just letting themselves be proud of themselves. I thought was delightful.
Yeah, I agree with Ethan where it's like, this is not a favorite of mine of the season, but there is a lot to enjoy here. I do like this episode. And for me, it's because we get to see S.H.I.E.L.D. Academy. And I love teen shows. I deeply. And especially teen shows with some kind of supernatural or any kind of twist to them. And I have said many times that if I could develop any kind of S.H.I.E.L.D. spinoff, it would be a S.H.I.E.L.D. Academy spinoff. I would love a S.H.I.E.L.D. Academy show where you just watch all the training and everything. That would be so my jam. I wish we could see that. I do want to shout out Silva Surfa in the comments says this is the last kind of okay episode before it's just all bangers. And we kind of do have all bangers from here on out. And that's like pretty like there's a little bit of debate about it that I do agree with, but I don't want to spoil things for Tony. But with maybe one exception, whenever people say about season 1, I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about, because we got so many good episodes coming, especially the next one. So
can I also say I think the a really strong point for this episode is that kind of montage that we get at the end with Sky and Coulson, and I think that works well in like this kind of this dyad, if you will, of the magical place and seeds. And Coulson kind of coming to more cognizant understanding of what Tahiti is and what he thinks it is and what he believes it to be and what it might turn out to actually be, and these types of things, and how Coulson never like loses sight of his fatherly like responsibility, not only to the team but to Sky in particular, and feeling that responsibility to not only tell Sky but to like utilize that moment and say, how do you respond, who do you become? And I think it is quite clever screenwriting to have Coulson deliver that message, because it works with Sky, it also works with Coulson moving forward. It works in conjunction with the conversation that he very briefly has with May right before that about having sex with Ward, which like shout out Marvel people, fuck, and I think that's super cool. Yeah. Like I think that's what Marvel needs. Like I think there's a lot of pretty brilliant moments in this episode.
Agreed. Yes, more fucking in Marvel, always, please and thank you.
And can I follow up something regarding that?
I think that I'll allow it.
Yeah, I could tell you wanted to get to the next point, but if I may, I agree with you wholeheartedly, Ethan. And it was also for me this idea that because Coulson is the moral center of the show, and it's the thing that I keep adoring about his character is he's always giving people the benefit of the doubt. He's always trying to do the right thing against all odds. But the idea that he sat there with May and said, I'm sick of secrets, and then come to his scene with Sky, and she's inquiring about, she can tell something's up and that he's being withholding. And he just has a great moment of like, I can't live like this. I can't, it's like, it was eating at him because he just crested over a serious life-changing secret that he now has to live with. And he was in no place and in no shape to do the same thing to Sky. So I really I really loved his just not only him telling her, him preparing her for how bad it is, and then giving her I like that it fades out because we don't need the information. We just get to have her receive it. And it was a really beautiful scene.
Yeah. Wow. Love this. The perfect time for us to just jump around randomly is while we're drinking, and I appreciate that. But I do want to head back to the beginning, because we start the episode at Shield Academy, and kids like are messing around in the pool. It starts to freeze, but I love that the big like reveal is when they show the Shield hoodie.
Oh yeah. That was fun.
Shield merch. Yeah. They put that stamp on everything, and I'm like, but also I have some like a Shield sweater, but I want that specific hoodie. So if anyone in the comments knows where I can find that exact hoodie, send me the link.
Yeah,
it's a cool hoodie.
Yeah, Tony, what did you think about? Were you surprised that we were at Shield Academy? Did you see this coming? Because they've been talking about the Academy.
No, didn't see it. It was a nice surprise. The Shield hoodie came out, had the same reaction, and then I was excited how quickly we were on campus. I was ready to jump in there. I like that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Ethan. How long has it been since you've watched this episode?
When did I rewatch this episode for this?
No, before that. Yeah.
Gosh, probably 5 years ish. Like okay. I think we were going through the series around 2019. Yeah.
Okay. Did you have any surprises where you're like, oh yeah, we're already do like ice machines and stuff?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting because this is like the core of like what network television used to be, right? It's like 22 episode seasons, and we get like five seasons, and all of this like large swath of content. And when I watched this episode and the episode previous, I immediately I remembered, I was like, oh, whole episode about the ice machine, like at the Academy, like this is cool. So it came back to me very, very quickly. I don't know if that says more about me or the show or my attachment to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. But I do like the kind of self-effacing, like it's a cold open. Pew pew. I thought that was
clip it, Maria.
Clip it.
I like that. I like the reveal of the hoodie too, because I didn't know, like you, Tony. I guess if it's been talking about the Academy and other things for a while now, I was just like, oh wow, okay, cool. Like this ties into S.H.I.E.L.D. directly. So it was nice.
Totally.
Yeah, I love teens. And we learned that the academy is broken up between science and technology, operations, and communications. And I love this because we instantly learn that science and technology has a feud with operations, which gives us some really fun moments between Fitzsimmons and Ward. And Ward brags that operations has the most dropouts, but then science technology is the hardest to get into. And then we learn that communications is the easiest. And I love how Fitz just so kindly points out that that's where Sky would be if she was going there. I do want to ask, where would you each be? Where do you think you would be in Shield Academy?
I would probably be in communications just because I'm nowhere cool / manly enough to be in operations, and I'm not smart enough to be in science and tech. So I would be in the one that's easiest to get into. That seems fitting.
I would also probably be in communications,
Yes.
although I might be scouted for operatives. But I would say no, not for me.
You would be scouted, you think?
Good call.
Yeah, probably.
Oh wow!
Think so.
I mean, you're a big tall man.
Big tall man.
I would absolutely be operations. I'm terrible at science, and I have no physical skills. Communications, yeah, I would be communications, no doubt. And I would be terrible at the sky. I would be like a Coulson. I think I could go around the world and talk my way out of shit, but I also don't speak any languages, so that's problems.
But baby, that's an operative. That's not a. You wouldn't be in communication. You would be an operative. If you're a Coulson, you're an operative.
No, I think Coulson is
Coulson's an operative. Coulson's a field guy. Like, he has a field background. You know,
Coulson's a hybrid.
Okay.
Yeah, Coulson's, at this point, Coulson's a hybrid. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, I feel like Coulson went through communications though when he went through Shield Academy. Okay, I actually don't know.
I'm on Team Jamie on this one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Chat, if you know an actual fact of where Coulson went through, tell us, because I assumed he went through communications.
Maybe that's a prequel that we could do. We could do Coulson at the academy. That's a good prequel.
Ooh,
spin-off right there.
Okay, who would play young Coulson? Let's start.
We don't have time.
Salty Shield Stan in the comments says Coulson was in communications. I don't know if they're guessing like us or if they know, but I'm just gonna say that they agree with us. Okay,
I stand potentially corrected.
Okay, we'll see. Well, everyone is agreeing with Ethan and I that he's communications. All right, so Sky, Maria says that in the comments that she wants to be science, but realistically would be communications. All right, so Sky is kind of struggling with the fact that she, quote, hacked her way in. And, so we're basically getting all this stuff. So just rounding it about, how do you guys feel about where we are in Shield Academy? Ethan, do you think this is a good representation of what something like Shield would be? Just these 3 zones?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I'm not as deep into the backstory, like the lore, the fanfic as you guys might be. So I haven't put a lot of thought into what Shield might be, but I think based on the core team that we have that we're traveling with for Agents of Shield, this kind of a set out for an academy totally makes sense. And I think the episode in particular does a really good job, like Tony, like you were saying, of Fitzsimmons coming back and kind of being the stars of the science and tech division and stuff. And so it makes it a lot easier to just buy into oh yeah, they just they went to the academy 7 years ago, probably. That's super cool. I think it's great.
Yeah.
We also get the SSR reference. The Science Technology Building used to be the Strategic Science Reserve. And of course, the SSR was created by FDR to battle Hydra in the 40s. And eventually it was absorbed by S.H.I.E.L.D. And I love those little nods. I mean, anytime we get an MCU nod.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we got a couple. We got a AIM drop and a Bucky Barnes drop in this episode too.
Yes. Obviously, I have those in my notes, and we will talk about them. We can talk about them right now, because we'll just jump ahead a little, because we can absolutely talk about how in Fitzsimmons' little speech, where they're popular kids, I do want to bring up the fact that Simmons brings up all of the past threats. She says Hydra, Centipede, and AIM. And in the world of MCU, AIM was founded by Aldrich Killian from Iron Man 3. But in the comics, AIM is responsible for creating the Cosmic Cube, aka the Tesseract, and MODOK. But I want to bring up the fact that Gemma name drops Centipede, because I feel like they're still in the midst of the Centipede drama. And maybe, do the students know about Centipede? Well,
Right.
this feels like a little bit classified to just be name dropping Centipede. Did you think of this?
Good point.
Yeah, I don't know. It does feel a little too soon. But it also, from a really like high level writing perspective, like Gemma getting up there and being like, AIM and Hydra. That's it. Those are the things we face. Like that doesn't roll off the tongue quite like 3 threats do. I wonder how that information is like disseminated to the academy. Like do they know anything about Centipede? Do they need to know? Do they maybe use that as like, let's see which students can have an idea about like how to battle this ongoing threat or something like that? Like, I'm very curious about that.
I think it would be more like if you're in law school and you're going to be learning your craft through the examination of previously closed cases and things like that. Like, I imagine, like, if it's a normal curriculum, they're not going to say, they may talk about current events, but I agree with Jamie in that Centipede is an ongoing threat that we still don't know everything about. So it would be surprising to, one, disclose it to a bunch of level 1s like myself, and 2, to just to mention to them while it's still like an active thing. But I didn't think about it in the moment, that she was talking about a current problem.
Well, that's what I'm here for. This episode is kind of, we very much have two very different stories happening. Very A plot, B plot, in a way that's not most of our Shield episodes so far. They've all interconnected a lot more seamlessly, and this was actually one of my hardest breakdowns to write because of how separate these two stories are. And we have Coulson being a broody boy over the discovery that he was dead for a bunch of days. He's struggling to trust Shield. He's questioning everything. But what I love about this is that May is really here. She's doing her best. She wants to distract him, and she takes him on a mission. And I love that when they're in Lola, they're going to find the one of the guys who had Sky when she was a baby. I love that May is just rambling, and she's talking about what she would do if she were to escape forever. And Coulson is like, "Why are you talking so much?" And I think it is an peel back of the onion of May that we have not seen before, and that is the kind of person she is vulnerably willing to be around Coulson.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I think that that also helps kind of Coulson's focus and personality to rise to the top a little bit in this episode as well, where like he's just quite blunt and honest with her of like, I don't want to be distracted. Like I'm dealing with trying to figure out what is the truth right now, and why are you talking so much? So I think it adds this complexity to their relationship that is really interesting and fascinating, because they both hold such like staunchly different point of views for their worldviews. But yeah, I like their back and forth in this episode.
And Lola takes flight again.
Yeah,
cool. I love that moment. That's when he's like, "It's Agent Coulson of S.H.I.E.L.D." That part's so cool. I love it.
Yeah.
I also, just another quick thing about Coulson and May is, to me, I see I understand Felinda shippers when I watch a scene like this. Like I could now I'm like, oh yeah, look at these two. I feel it. Like the way that she cares. Tony, do you see it?
No, I'm not anti the ship, but it's never the vibe I get. Like even that one scene where they were all close and doing martial arts, or when he's unbuttoning his shirt and she's touching his, like, even then there's an intimacy to them. I still think they did have sex with each other many years ago, and it was awesome. But I at no point, never am I like, oh, these two, maybe. It's never where my head's at. I think there's just too deep of a friendship. That's
yeah. I'm curious. I want to pose a quick question, and because I can't remember exactly, and this might play into something later. It's absolutely not a spoiler. So when they have their conversation in the car, and May is talking so much and basically trying to distract Coulson, that's where she tries to drop the bomb of like, "Hey, I'm having sex with Agent Ward."
Mhm.
Does she do that? Do you think as a primary like action of distraction and deflection for Coulson, or do you think it comes from a more like a personal guilt standpoint of like, I have been keeping this a secret. I think Coulson needs to know. I need to come clean about it, and I can also use it as a distraction because I'm trying to delineate. I haven't thought about it much.
I think it's more about being honest, because he literally says he's sick of secrets, and but I think for like the
Immediately.
first time in her life, something kind of bubbles out of her. I think that she knows that Coulson is fragile, and she doesn't want him to find this secret out about her on his own. I think that it's important to her that trust. She knows that his trust with Shield right now is really fragile, and she does not want to be a part of that.
Yeah,
I completely agree with that. Yeah, that was my interpretation of that moment.
I mean, to your point, Jamie, I feel like too she could use this and be like, "Look, I'm having sex with Ward. You know what? Maybe we could come back to what we had. I haven't lost the juice yet, so
She sure as hell
I
hasn't.
see it. I think they definitely.
I don't think they fucked when they were younger. I love the theory. I don't think they did. I do see, like, I do understand wanting them to fuck, but I don't think that they ever have. But I do like that Tony's really harping that. Okay, this I think is a good spot to take a little break. So, folks, if you're drinking along with us, I saw somebody had a cactus cooler. Go get another cactus cooler. Have a little bathroom break. Blah. We will be back soon. Hello and welcome back to Loving the Time of Hydra. We are talking episode 12, Seeds, with our friend Ethan Simmie. We are so happy for all of those who are joining with us right now. Those are her drinking along, all this exciting business. Oh, we have a lot more to talk about this episode. We're really cooking, guys.
We're cooking
Let's
slow.
go back to
We're slow cooking.
Yeah, we are in the crock pot. So during Fitzsimmons' speech, Donnie gets ice attacked. It's very superly dramatic. It all comes down, all this happens, but afterwards, Ward suggests that Fitz goes and comforts him, which Simmons and Skye think is super cute. And meanwhile, the rest go to the boiler room, the really cool hip club. So we get to see a little bit more of Shield and this kind of reminded me of Battlestar Galactica and how they take what they have and like create their own kind of party zones this is all we got, so we're gonna do stuff with it.
Well, get your glass, because I made another Buffy reference when I saw it. It reminded me of the Bronze. Like I was like that place has Bronze vibes. Like we got the catwalk, got the pool table, like the same sort of lighting scheme. Reminded me a lot of the Bronze. That was a cool spot to be in.
Ethan, have you watched Buffy? Yeah. Have you watched Buffy?
No, I have not watched Buffy. I'm so
all
sorry.
Right. Cool. No, don't be sorry. That just means that one day you get to watch Buffy and talk to me about it. That's all I hear.
There's this girl called Buffy, right? And she
yeah, all this is cool. But the exciting thing, the thing that happens real quick, is that Quinn is back. And we find out that he's backing Donnie and Seth on this secret project. I was trying to keep it cool these last few months. I never let it slip that Quinn was going to show up again. Were you surprised, Tony?
Yeah. He seems like a good character who can jump in and out. It makes total sense, but no, I didn't see him coming. And he fit right in there, man. Of course he's that fucking asshole Elon Musk-esque guy who's like paying young people for their intellectual property and exploiting them. Yeah, that totally tracked. So I was excited to see him back. He's a really good actor. I love that character. He's despicable. He's great.
Did you remember Quinn? Were you excited to see him?
Yeah, I was stoked to see Quinn. I don't remember where he comes in prior to this, but when I did get to see him on the plane, I was immediately sparked of like, I know what comes next. And that was really cool because I had forgotten a lot about that. So I think that's really cool. I also like admire that, television production wise, they're like, look, Quinn's just chilling in a plane. Like, we're just going to build a little plane set and we're going to use this for everything. Really nice billionaire plane. And that's the only place that he can take his calls. Which like, who doesn't want to do that? Like, he's just hanging out on a plane. Super fun.
Yeah. And then he says, sweetie, refill this. Or he says, change course. And then he's just on the phone. Yeah.
He just like rips out. He's just like, turn this thing around. We're headed out. And it's like, I don't know if planes work that way, man.
I want to back up a little bit and shout out Jeremy in the comments who's saying Michelle Branch live at the Boiler Room, because Michelle Branch singing Goodbye to You in the episode Tabula Rasa in season 6 of Buffy is my favorite bronze moment of all time. So shout out for that reference. Love it.
I remember
So backing up a little, because we know now Quinn's motive, Donnie and Fitz bond a little. They bond about how smart they are and how they don't have any friends because they're too smart for friends. And I do love the moment though, and I think that this is really important, that Donnie doesn't have a Simmons. And Fitz, I think Fitz's whole life has been saved by Simmons. And I do love the point where Donnie says to Fitz, "You're the smartest person who's ever come in through here." And Fitz says, "Well, Simmons is technically smarter, but only because she loves homework." And I really like the scene. I want to talk about the scene and the fact that Fitz helps Donnie. And at this point, we do not know that Donnie lured him there to get this help.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. I thought it was, even though he wasn't off my suspect list. It was an incomplete thought in my mind of like, this guy's involved somehow. But regardless of that, I thought it was such a lovely scene of those two guys bonding. And once it was revealed that he was sort of, the weakest of two men and he's being sort of manipulated and forced into situations that he's not comfortable with, it all clicked together. So I liked that, although he did lure Fitz there, their interaction was no less genuine. He was sincerely elated by his scientific acumen and his help on his battery project. It was lovely. It was a great scene.
I think the scene does a really good job as well of like humanizing Fitz just a little bit, because there's kind of this throwaway line when he first gets there where he's like, my room looked exactly like this, except there was a lot more laundry on the floor. And so like for me, I'm like, oh, cool. Like, okay, now I can kind of piece together what Fitz's room might have looked like what was his academy time. And so it does do a little bit of building out that like kind of background for Fitz. Really great, genuine interaction. And then I love the moment when Fitz is on the phone with Gemma, and it takes Simmons to basically tell him and remind him like, hey, there might be something sus going on, because he doesn't think about it until that moment. And he's like going down the stairwell, and then she is the one that kind of like sparks that idea that it might not have been so wholehearted. So to your point, Jamie, like the Fitz and the Simmons, like they are a unit, and they are perfectly combined to understand all these problems.
I got chills. They just are a team, and it's so beautiful because they are two of the smartest human beings on the planet in this universe. But the fact that they need each other to complete their thoughts, I think, is really kind of beautiful. Yeah. So we know that now Donnie and the other kid have been trying to build this ice machine. They're doing it with the backer of Quinn, but now they're like, "Uh-oh, we're in trouble." And basically, they just start a hurricane. A lot goes down. They start a whole hurricane. May has to come back from her Coulson. We'll talk more about what May and Coulson learn. But May now, Tony, I loved it. Tony was like, he saw this and he's like, "Oh, drop me in the hole."
Yeah, I know.
Tony announced-
The bus was like flying over the eye of the storm, and I was like, "Drop me in there!" Like I just like just send her down into a dive, and she'll nail it. She'll break the machine. Her plan was probably safer and better, but yeah.
I think it's a little intense to be like, Fitz, you weren't supposed to see this, and then to escalate to be like, we got to bust this thing out, man. We got to make a hurricane. We got to make this happen right now. Is a big jump. But Donnie's being pressured on his end as well, so I get it.
Yeah,
and
it
these
makes
aren't
sense
bad
too.
kids.
Yeah, the advancement of the weapon the thing that I thought was actually kind of neat. Because there's a lot of science babble in all of the show and Marvel at large, but like the idea that Fitz was like, what you need to do is adjust this battery so that it pulls oxygen in to cool itself. So it made sense that when the device was activated, it was oxygenated, which helped it grow in the atmosphere to become. Gee, guys, maybe I would have been in a science class. What do you think?
I was going to say, you're putting in your application right now.
My eyes glossed over, so I know you're doing something right.
Yeah, nailed it. I can talk science on a Marvel scale. Yeah. No. So I thought, anyway, I was impressed by the amount of detail in the device. It was cool.
And just to close out this storyline, the other kid fucking dies. Like, that child dies. And that's intense. It's clearly all a motivation of Donnie. And I wish I could say that, like, Donnie the Ice Guy coming soon to ABC. Like, it does kind of feel like they're setting up a spinoff, or at least, maybe we'll see him again. I don't know. He's become an Iceman. But that scene is really dark, where they're trying to bring. I for sure, the first time I watched this, thought that kid was gonna live through that Grey's Anatomy drama.
I didn't feel bad for that kid. He sucked. I mean, I also thought he would live, but I was like, yeah, well, that's what you get for being an asshole. Like, I don't know.
Sorry, dude. Yeah.
Sorry, dude.
I think it's really interesting, like in the grand scheme of MCU and like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and stuff, that they kind of the writers and the people who put all this together were kind of just like, you know what really raised the stakes? If we just fucking kill this kid, that would be cool. And then they just did it. They just like went along with it, which like kind of works because like we don't give a shit about this kid anyway, and it mostly impacts Donnie and S.H.I.E.L.D.
Right.
And it kind of works on a deeper level of maybe understanding that the Academy is not as buttoned up as we're led to believe it might be, or there's not as great mentorship within those programs or what have you. So I think it works. I think it's exceptionally too much, but I think it works.
Well, I tell you, the Academy is not buttoned up to the extent that Donnie can have a fucking laboratory come down from the ceiling of his dorm room where he's doing secret experiments. So, yeah, I don't think they're doing a lot of dorm checks at the Academy. That's pretty intense.
That's a good one. Because they are, like, you have to have a PhD to get through the door. So most of these people are probably over 21. I mean, they Fitz and Simmons were the youngest people to go through there. Donnie's young too, but most of the people here are not. They're not fresh out of high school.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So then Donnie gets sent to the sandbox, all that, but we got to wrap up the other big story, which is Coulson and May find out a big deal about Skye. She was an 084, which is like crazy. What does that mean?
What does that mean?
Yeah. And I think that like the agent said that an entire village died trying to protect her. And he said a line that I think is very interesting. He said, if she had powers or something, we never witnessed it. But and then all of that stuff about Skye, but we also have to point out that Coulson didn't want to turn this guy back into S.H.I.E.L.D. because of his untrustworthiness right now. But then the guy said, wherever she goes, death follows. May was like, you can never tell her. All this is crazy. Before we get into Skye's reaction, Tony, I want to know, were you surprised to learn Skye was an 084?
Yeah, I was surprised to learn that Skye was an 084. First of all, I was excited that I knew what an 084 was before they said it, because I watched this show and talk about it. But yeah, that's really interesting to me. I have no idea, Jamie. Like, I feel like as soon as we kind of tie up loose ends regarding what the heck is going on with Coulson. As soon as that's done, we've got a new thread of in what way is Sky in 084? Like that indicates to me an object. It's essentially an almost like a UFO, but in reference to an object or a person, or I'm sure somebody could tell what the exact designation
Well,
is.
I can tell you right now, and
Okay.
shout out to Defrosted Robot 77 in the comments, because they, in the 084 episode of S.H.I.E.L.D., which is the second episode, Coulson says it is an object of unknown origin, and then he says to Sky, like you, because they don't know anything about her.
Oh,
so they
shit.
very much foreshadowed it.
Yeah. Well, that's, I mean, I am very interested to know. I mean, what is she just going to start glowing white light powers all of a sudden? Is she going to get really sad and heartbroken, and there's going to be like a rainstorm? Like, I don't know, like what in what way is she gifted? What does she possess? What is she, it wasn't indicating that, because there's still no mother, right? We still haven't identified who the mother is. So she herself, Sky, is the 084. I have no idea. Can't wait to find out.
Yeah, I think it's cool because obviously she was an 084 that carried enough like power and prowess and like enough to where people had to be on the run, and like people were after her. Like, it's not just like, oh, you know what, like she's just an abandoned baby and like we just don't know where she came from or whatever. Like, it's like death follows her wherever she goes, and like you had powers when you were a bit. Like, what does that mean? What does that imply? What is that going to lead to? Like, how do we know? And it's playing on this really the theme of trust in this episode in particular, because like, what can we trust Sky going forward? Like, does she know more than Coulson knows? Does she know more than we know? Like, we just don't know. So I think the episode, the writing does this really nice arc of like building up our trust and then completely obliterating it at the end again. Even when people like Coulson and May are like rekindling certain aspects of trust, we're losing it in other aspects.
Yeah.
I like that.
The added, I know it was really a significant emotional blow to her, but I mean, I can't imagine the relief of learning that you weren't jostled from foster home to foster home because people didn't like you. Yeah. That was literally an active government effort to keep you safe. I think that would be a great relief to the soul, amidst a lot of, other new painful things. But I was happy that she got to receive that information. I feel like that's got to be healing in some way.
Well, if you remember a few episodes back, she talked about a foster family that she really liked and that she called the mom, and she tested it out, but then they said it wasn't a good fit. And now we know that maybe that wasn't their decision. And but I love where Coulson is talking to May about how Sky reacted and how she now, like, she sees not the bad, but how now she realizes S.H.I.E.L.D. has always been there and always protecting her. And when he gives this little speech, I tear up. And I want to shout out Matthew on Instagram, who commented, no other person in history has made me cry by crying more than Chloe Bennett. And it's true. Like, when Chloe has it, when she gets sad, I'm like, no, not Sky. Don't make Sky sad. And I love that it all culminates in her going to the Wall of Valor and seeing Bucky Barnes' name, as previously mentioned, and this moment.
Well, that was actually the beginning. That was.
Oh, I'm sorry.
She sees her, the agent who rescued her.
Thank you. Yes, but she goes back and reflects, and I think that it's kind of special for her. She's realizing that she's had a family all along, in a way.
Yeah, lovely. And that's what Coulson said. It's and speaks to the resilience of Sky, and really good stuff.
Yeah, I like where it ends with Sky, and I think it's a really wise storyline decision to pop this into 12 when we have 22 episodes in this season. It gives something to really focus on the trajectory of like the back 10 episodes and figure out where this is all going to go with Sky and what it means. And I think, again, like, it just kind of rounds out the episode as a whole of being pretty like emotionally intelligent of where it stands.
Totally.
And then finally, we get the end credit scene where basically Coulson calls Quinn and is like, "We're watching you." And then Quinn's like, "Thanks for the heads up." And
Courtesy
it's so,
call.
I mean, I know the courtesy call. And it's like, I don't know about you, but maybe we're going to see Quinn again.
I don't know. Who could say, really? Not you guys. Yeah, I really do. Coulson is the coolest cucumber to ever cucumber, man. He's just so slick. I love everything about that character. It's like the more I watch of this show, the more he's just becoming like top 3 favorite Marvel characters in the MCU. Like, the dude is just great. There was one thing we didn't talk about that I just wanted to mention, and it's a Ward thing, because he is doing a good job in this episode. Me and Seth in the previous episode, our guest Seth, we're teasing Ward for that time that he like took a bullet and was just like sitting on a plane and not telling anybody he was shot while he had a scotch. And she's like, "You're shot." He's like, "It's nothing. Leave me alone." And like, how just like, fuck it, that's so stupid. So I appreciated in this episode when he was like, "All right, I got it," and he knocks open a door and it's a fucking full-blown hurricane. He's like, "Nope,
I don't got it."
I was like, because I was 100% sure that he was going to rush out there, like dodging cars and like rolling and like, hiding and stuff, like literally in a fight with a hurricane. And the fact that he's just like, "Nah, I can't do it." It's like, I really appreciated the maturity of that decision.
That VFX budget didn't come through, so they had
that's the other thing. I was like, maybe they couldn't afford to send Ward running through a hurricane.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But before we get into a brief history for the end of the show, I do want to shout out some people in the comments. We've have people talking about age, because we were talking about the age of the students, and we've got people in the comments ranging from age 19 to 53, and that makes me really happy. I love that. I also love that Kenneth in the comments said, "Am I the only one who loves this podcast?" I hope not, because there's a lot of people in the comments. I hope that people aren't in the comments because they hate us. So shout out. I love that. I love posing that question. I love that means that you love us. And shout out to Alice, who has had a half a bottle of wine and says we can't mention Buffy anymore because she's out of drinks.
That reminds me, there was a Buffy thing.
Yeah, Buffy Bender.
Yeah.
And as I get in, Silva Surfa has been in the comments talking about a deleted scene, and I'm going to be honest, I don't know what the deleted scene is. I'm sorry. I claim to be an expert, but clearly I'm not. So while I'm reading some history, Silva Surfa, if you want to drop what you're talking about into the comments, I'll happily read it. But so a little history. Filming occurred between November 19th to December 2nd, 2013. So we're still in 2013 while we're filming. The campus for Shield Academy was the College of the Canyons in Santa Clarita. Do you know that school, Tony, as someone who's lived in here for so long?
I know. I've never been on the campus, but I know where it is. Yeah.
Cool.
I'll take it. And then this is cool because Ethan kind of brought this up earlier, but this is absolutely one of the most effects heavy episodes of the season. And it's cool. The episode's freezing effects were handled by, I don't know if it's COSA or COSA. I don't know how you say it, VFX. Well, the hurricane sequence was handled by Fuse FX. And the hurricane was shot with Minette and Zavato at the Walt Disney Studios in Burbank, which Fuse then composited along with an actual footage of a hurricane that had been manipulated with 3D projection to stimulate the movement. So I think that's pretty cool.
Wow.
That's pretty neat. I like
that's rad.
It's always, I always just, I don't know a lot about this field, so I always just imagine it's a bunch of really qualified animators creating fake things, but come to find out it's like a layer atop layer atop layer with really smart methodology. And of course it is. I don't know anything.
That checks out on the Ward standpoint of he didn't get the VFX budget.
It does. It does check out. We paid 3 companies for a hurricane.
That's impressive work, though. I mean, for it being such a VFX heavy episode, I thought it wasn't terrible. Like for a season 1 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I thought it was actually quite suffice.
Same.
My next fact is actually perfect because it ties in with the Silva Surfer deleted scene. So this is great. So Tad, the boiler room bartender, was played by Zachary Burr Abel, who at the time was Elizabeth Henstridge's boyfriend of a year, but now it's her husband.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, they've been together now since 2012, and he's fun on Instagram. If you don't follow him, he's now does a lot of like travel influencer stuff. So he's constantly going on really cool plane rides and talking about plane deals. But he's also an actor, and they're a really cute couple. And so the deleted scene apparently is that in the boiler room, we learned that Simmons had a one-night stand with that bartender.
Get out of here.
Yes. So clearly they brought him in as a joke, as like they were
Right.
dating at the time, and so they threw him in.
Fun. I love that. Yeah. They deleted the scene because they had too much chemistry.
Yeah.
Well, they probably also deleted the scene because they were like, "Uh-oh, we already referenced sex once. We got to dial it back."
Right. Yeah, this can't be too
Fair.
funny.
And Sarah in the comments says that the other deleted scene was Gemma and Sky and Fitz and Donnie talking about their perspective of the Fitzsimmons friendship, which sounds really interesting. She said it's on YouTube, so try to check that out. And then Susie in the comments wonders if we got our answer to last week's question, which is where was that image of Sam Jackson from, of Nick Fury? And Susie thinks it's from the Avengers, and I think that that's right as well, but we did not get an actual specific answer. And I also want to shout out Alice for saying that she loves the podcast, but her friends hate it because she talks about it too much. Get your friends in on the podcast, Alice.
Yeah.
Get them to listen.
Alice.
Or get better friends,
Out.
Alice. Come on, figure out one of them.
Or get better friends. Yeah.
So before Tony leaves, so we can do a little Tony leaves the room, I do want to share the tragic news that the next episode of S.H.I.E.L.D. was not until February 4th, and the one after that isn't until March 4th. It's so sad. A lot of people reacted to this on social media, and I know it feels weird, but honestly, this is normal for a network show. You've got 22 episodes a season, so the second half has to go from January to May. They got 12 episodes here that they have to spread out. It makes sense. It just sucks for us. So we will be back February 4th, and absolutely between February 4th and March 4th, and that whole month, we're going to do a Patreon. We will miss you for a whole month. We've got to. Ethan, before Tony goes, was there anything about this episode that you wanted to talk about?
No, I think I talked about most of it. I think the more that I think about it, the more that I talk about it, the better the episode gets. I think this like Academy side quest type of thing works quite well to what is the word? I'm a podcaster. I can't figure out the right word. To basically clue us in into like a lot of character traits and history of certain people. And I like what they did. I like what they closed and the doors that they opened back up. And yeah, I'm stoked that I got to rewatch this episode. It's crazy like how fast all of this Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. knowledge like came back to my brain. I'm very excited for Tony to leave the room. That's all I got to say about that.
well, then I'll just get the fuck out of here. Before I do, I'm going to say some thank yous to Stephanie at Eclectic Muses on socials. She did our wicked artwork. And to Ryan Mira of Yellow Pills at Yellow Pills Music on Instagram. He did our music. And I want to thank our disembodied butt drinking producer, Maria. Thank you, Maria.
And for those who are leaving, oh, yes. Yes, thank you, Maria. For those who are leaving with Tony, don't forget to follow us on social media at LitoPod on Instagram and Twitter. From there, you can check out our link tree where you can find out all our places. Please like and subscribe to our channel. We're on YouTube. We're on Spotify. Leave us 5-star reviews. Tell your friends about the podcast. Tell your friends who've never watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. about the podcast so that they can watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and then follow along because that's the really fun way to do it. So if you have not seen Beyond Episode 12 like Tony, leave the room right now. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Thanks, Ethan. It was a pleasure.
Thanks, Tony. Good to talk, man.
You too. All right, we're leaving the room. Here we go.
Okay, he's gone. Okay. Hi, Ethan.
Hey, Jamie.
Wow. So, okay. Wow. So you've seen the whole show, right? Yes. We've talked about that.
Yeah, I've seen the whole show.
Was it really hard for you to call Sky, Daisy Sky?
So difficult. Oh my God. So fucking hard. Like I like, it's hard to come into an episode and be like, okay, I'm only 12 episodes into X number of seasons. Like it's hard because we know what's going to come of Sky, the whole A084 conversation at the end. Like we know what that means. We know where we're going with this is full spoilers, right? Like we're good to
Yeah, you can say
Okay.
what you want. Yeah.
We're good. We know where we're going with Quake and the Inhumans, and we know where we're going with Reyna and the Clairvoyant and all of these things that like we are deep in the trenches of like the deep middle of trying to understand all of these things. So especially when we get to the end of the episode, I'm just like, I guess I personally was a little surprised. I was like, I don't remember them teasing like Quake so early, but I also don't remember when Quake happens.
It's very much mid-season 2 where she gets her powers, and
That's a long lead in. That's like a
I know.
long thing.
It's cool. And you learn, like, Inhumans start to become very quickly in season 2, but like she doesn't really get them until I could be, I'm guessing, like maybe around episode 10 or 11.
Sure.
I don't have them as memorized as Buffy, as I've talked about in the past. Sorry, drink everybody. So yeah, but it is like, and it's funny because I know in the past I have absolutely talked about Daisy Johnson being on the show, and I just know that he hasn't put it together yet.
Oh,
and
sure.
that's amazing.
That's so
I
funny.
love that. Because there was a good first 2 years of our relationship where we didn't know we were going to do this podcast, and I would talk about this show.
I think too, like it's really interesting to know there's so much undercover for, especially for this season, but like for the rest of the series too, of like Quake being the main one, but obviously what happens to Ward, and I think like 6 or 7 or 8 of like it's
we're so close
soonish, right?
Yeah,
so
we're really close.
We get that huge reveal. Obviously, we're building up to the Clairvoyant and like what that means for everything. And of course, like when Simmons was giving this speech and mentioned Hydra, my brain immediately went to like, oh yeah, the framework. Like that season is fucking cool. So like, there's so many like very, very exciting things coming that I don't remember them ever alluding to this early on, which is really fun.
Mm-hmm. That's why I always say, like, a show like this, it's so worth rewatching.
Yeah,
I'm such an advocate. Like, one of my favorite movies of all time is Moonstruck, and Tony, we watched the other day, and it was only Tony's second time seeing it. And there's a moment in that movie that is a joke that you will not understand unless you've already seen the movie. And that's the kind of thing where I'm like, oh, you gotta rewatch it. And Shield is like that, and I love that. I love rewatching stuff. And just talking like specifics. I didn't spoiler for Tony that Weaver is going to come back, but I feel like that's kind of obvious. You're getting an agent like this, but also obviously Dylan is going to be in one more episode as Donnie in season 2.
Right. How many seasons of Shield are there? There's 6 seasons? 7 seasons. Okay.
But 7 and 6 are shorter. I'm sorry, 6 and 7 are shorter.
I remember that, yeah. Okay.
So yeah, it's great because like everyone knows this, I talk about it a lot, but Deke is my favorite character, and like the fact that Tony's not going to meet him until December 2027 is crazy.
Dude, that's wild. What a ride. That's a long haul for that one for sure. Yeah, I remember Agent Hand a little bit, and then I couldn't remember specifically who the Clairvoyant was, but once I realized who it was, I was like, because of his semi recent passing, I was like, holy crap, like that's a pretty big get for like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. to have him be the Clairvoyant, which like totally works for the show.
Paxton's the biggest star they've ever had on this show, and I don't know if you remember, but in season 7 his son plays the younger version of him, which is dope.
Yeah, I do remember that. Very cool.
Yeah, I've said this many times in Tony Leaves the Room segment, but Tony's gonna lose his fucking mind when Bill Paxton shows up on the show. He's gonna lose his mind.
Oh, that's so exciting.
Yeah, we're so close. We're so close. But before we say goodbye, Ethan, is there anything else about this episode or anything you want to plug? Anything that you want to say?
Yeah, I think the only thing that I wanted to say, and I know it kind of pertains a little bit to the previous episode as well, The Magical Place. I love that I got to join you and Tony for discussing like the crux of Coulson's storyline that's upcoming with the symbols and him basically losing his mind and understanding all of that with Tahiti. So that was really cool to revisit in the prior episode, and like him going into the machine and specifically his kind of like parasitic relationship that he has with Reyna, where they both want to know and he trusts himself enough to know but to not reveal. So I think there's some really exciting things coming up there. So yeah, thanks for having me on the show. This is really exciting. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., of course, is phenomenal. Tune into my upcoming podcast, the movie draft podcast. New episodes every Tuesday. We just draft movies and talk about movies. And then my other podcast, 24 Minutes of A24. We're actually covering the Oscars right now. So we turn into 24 minutes of the Oscars. I know you were on last year to talk about some movies with us as well. So we'll be covering all Best Picture nominees leading up to the Oscars. So if you have any interest in those kind of movies and award shows, join us.
I mean, if you haven't done a Poor Things episode yet,
we're recording tomorrow.
Damn it. Okay.
Sorry.
We'll talk. It's okay. I do love being on that podcast because, as I talk all the time, all my podcasts are about Marvel. And sometimes people forget that I am a cinephile and I love film and I don't get to talk about movies as much as I'd like to. So, yes, I'd love to come on at some point. So hit me up. But yes, everyone check out Ethan's podcasts. He is great. I always love getting to talk. And we went a little long today. And I think it's because of the alcohol.
A drinking episode is always a good episode, honestly.
Absolutely. And so thank you again for everyone who's listening. Everyone in this chat. See? Oh, I'm lost.
Hi, Richard.
Now.
I see Richard Nebbins in the chat. Just want to give a shout out. Richard's an OG. He was back with me in the day. So what's up, Richard?
Hi. And Alice is saying I should do a Buffy podcast. As much as I would love that, just go listen to Slayerfest 98. It's an amazing podcast, and I have been on some episodes of it. So I wish that there weren't already such good Buffy podcasts, but that's why we're getting in front of the Shield. We are the Agents of Shield podcast, and I'm so happy about it. As far as I know, I hope that's how people will eventually view us. We're only 12 episodes in, but sadly, there are no more episodes for the rest of the month. But tune in on Sunday, February 4th, because we are talking episode 13, Tracks, which is such a good episode. Tony's gonna fucking love this episode, you guys. You're not ready for how much I know Tony, and he's gonna love this episode.
Oh my god, we didn't even talk about Deathlock's coming up, man. Deathlock!
Yeah, I know.
You want to know something crazy really, really quickly? I'm so sorry, but my friend that I mentioned at the very top of the episode, he ended up being an amputee. He had to lose part of his leg to get rid of the cancer and head into remission. So when he got his bionic leg, I would always refer to him as Deathlock. And that was kind of like our Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. thing. And he even had his Amazon packages delivered to Mr. Mark Deathlock Leaser. So that was pretty cool.
That's pretty dope. I love that. Yeah, I'm just so excited for Tony. So again, we'll be live on YouTube and Twitch once again, February 4th, 5 p.m. Pacific time. And then after that, you guys, we're heading into the leap year, which means that starting episode 14, the anniversaries are on Mondays, but I believe we are going to continue doing the live shows on Sundays because it's just better for everybody. And then we will release the episode on Monday for the 10th anniversary. Stick around for more announcements, all this stuff. We're going to miss you, but we'll see you on the 4th. If you can't make the live stream, as always, the episodes are coming up on all podcast platforms. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ethan. Goodbye.